So, good morning. Um, Today we are at Los Angeles International Airport. Last weekend I bought a Payware add-on, which looks quite decent. Actually, it looks quite nice. And in the past few weeks I was quite busy working with Ortho4XP, and I created photoscenery tiles for the entire area between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And well, I finished the last tile and installed it. And what I'm planning to do right now is to make a full flight from LA to San Francisco, so we can see what the Ortho4XP scenery tiles look like, and whether I was successful in creating them or not. So anyway, we are at Los Angeles International early in the morning, 6:30. We'll just step into the airplane. For the first flight of the day, we'll power it up, then I'll create a quick flight plan from LA to San Francisco. In the meanwhile, the IRS can align. Then we'll just load everything in, start the plane, and be on our way to San Francisco. The weather, especially in San Francisco, is pretty miserable in real life, so I set weather manually to broken clouds and a nice easy wind from the west, about 7 or 8 knots, so nothing too special. So we should be able to get some nice views of the landscape en route. So well, it's gonna take some time. So without further ado, let's start by powering up the airplane. So let's switch the batteries on, emergency exit lights armed, and let's ask for a ground power unit. It's now connected and engaged. We check that the landing gear lever is down, that the flap lever is up, that the speed brake lever is up. And well, let's see. We will not start the APU until just prior to startup to save some fuel. We have some fire protection that we can check already, so that's okay. That's okay. And this is okay. Always check the circuit breakers in real life, but since they are not modeled in the IXEG 737 that we're flying today, well, it's not much use of spending a lot of time looking at the circuit breakers. So let's say that they are checked. Always verify that everything on the overhead panel is okay. The electric hydraulics are off, which is also very nice indeed. We can switch on the galley power so that the flight attendants can already make their coffee and well, everything that the passengers want as soon as we are airborne. Also check that the radar is off. We don't want to fry the people walking in front of the airplane. So with that startup flow done, we can already run the power up checklist. Circuit breakers are checked, batteries on, electric hydraulic pumps were verified off, gear lever was verified down, radar was off, external power is set, fire protection is checked, APU is off, and the flap lever we already checked that was up. So that's the power up checklist completed. We will do a pre-flight check immediately right now. So let's check the overspeed warnings, the stick shakers. See if these lights work. They do. We can set the service interphone on. See if we can already test that one. Not yet, because it's still off. We will run a lights test now. As you can see now, all the lights are on, and we can check whether the light bulbs are in working order, so that we know that basically all the lights should illuminate when we ask them to. So this is all very well. You always check it strip by strip. So that's now done. Let's see the MCP. They all work. This is also excellent. We'll check the oxygen and look at the. This is working. This is working. Check. This is working. That's fine. It's working. Check the oxygen down there. See if all the lights on the pedestal work, which they do. So that's the light test completed. We have a fire extinguisher on board. We have a first aid kit on board. These are all exactly as they should be, so we close that. It's the manual gear extension. We have our emergency aviation flashlight on board. Well, we cannot check the rope, that's not modeled, so let's say we check the emergency equipment as well. And we have to check the ground proximity warning.
Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Runway. Awareness. Okay. Meter.
Okay, the ground proximity warning is also in working order, so now we can already align the IRS, set them to nav. And say a pass in it. We are at LAX or LAX. And we want the airplane to align on this coordinates. Okay, that's all being done right now. We can now fire up Professional Flight Planner X to create a quick flight plan. There we are at flights. We'll fly Southwest 992 from LAX to San Francisco. 737-300, and let's randomize the payload. Save. Plan the flights. Well, of course I set my own weather, so we're gonna pick our own runways. We want to take off runway 24 left because we are parked very close to that runway, so that's a short taxi. And I want to land on runway 28 right because we have westerly wind, so that's a perfect runway for us to land on. This is all pretty good. We have a reasonably full airplane today, that's nice. Let's say we have 30 minutes of holding time and 30 minutes of contingency time worth of fuel as a reserve. And let's find a route. Fix it, Romeo, Zulu Sierra, Juliet 512, Bravo Sierra, Romeo, Bravo Sierra, Romeo 3 to runway 28 right. That seems perfect. Let's put our alternate as Oakland. This is also pretty good. Compute the flight. There's one warning that has to do with altitude at SFO 3000 feet is below grid Mora 6100. Well, who cares? Release the flights. Yep, we want to release the flights anyway. So we now have a zero fuel weight for the airplane. We have a route and we have a flight level 360. So now we can start programming the flight. So we're flying from LAX to San Francisco. And I'm gonna over this pretty damn quickly. If you want to know in more detail how to program the flight management computer, I've made a separate video about that. So go to the channel and look it up. It was shot in X-Plane 10, but it is one-on-one applicable for X-Plane 11 as well. So we have runway 24 left with the fix it 3, via Romeo Zulu Sierra. So that's now in the route page. We have the Juliet 501, airway to Bravo Sierra Romeo. Yeah, Bravo Sierra Romeo. And then we'll fly the arrival. Bravo Sierra Romeo 3 to ILS 28 right, and we have a transition via, I think it was Menlo in this flight. Let's see. Yeah, Menlo it is. So we enter Menlo in there. This can close. To the route page, and there it is. So activate and execute. I will also load in the zero fuel weight and the fuel that we need in the airplane now. So we have a zero fuel weight of 41.902. 41.902, that's excellent. And we need 6,723 kilos of fuel, so that's 6.7. So that's now loaded. We can go to the performance page. Zero fuel weight, what did we say? 41.92. Yeah, 41.92. That's loaded. I want 2 tons of fuel in reserve. That's okay. Cost index of 20 is okay. We had cruise altitude 360, which is now set. Execute. And one limit. Well, let's derate our takeoff to 45 degrees Celsius. Should do the trick. And we have a trim of 3.4, so we can set that immediately. And we have a QRH V1 126, V rotate 128, and V2 of 137. So let's dial that into the speed box. So 128, 126, 137. That gives us a V2 plus 20 of 157. And we have a gross weight of 48.6. And that gives us a flat clean speed of say 203, 204, something like that. So 20 and a little bit. So that's good enough for now. So 128, 126, 137, 157, and 200 and a little bit is okay for that as well. QNH was 300. What was it again? Of course, I set the weather myself. It is 3007. So let's dial that in. And verify that this is also set on the first officer's side. That's okay. The outer brakes can already go to RTO. And we said 137 was V2, so V2 plus 20 is 157 is our initial climb out speed, 157. Runway heading will be about 250. And our initial climb will be flight level 180. So that's also set now. The route that we programmed has a distance of 315 nautical miles, and our planned route has a flight plan over ground 316 nautical miles, so that should be accurate. I think we are there already, so let's see how long it will take the IRS to align. Another 3 minutes. Everything works, that's also nice. So let's run the overhead flow already. Yaw dampers can come off, fuel pumps can come on. Yaw damper can come on as well, of course. Galley power is already on. This is okay. Set the passenger signs on. Window heat can already be switched on. We'll leave the Spido heats off till after engine start. Engine anti-ice is still not needed for now. Electric hydraulics can remain off. So let's set the airco and pressurization off. Packs are off, that's over. APU bleed is still off, that's okay for now. Cruise altitude, flight level 360, so 36,000 feet in here. At 36,000 feet we need a cabin altitude of 7,600, so let's dial 7,600 in here. The airport elevation in San Francisco, I believe it's 13 feet. Yeah, it is. So let's set this back to, well, 10. Slightly over that. This is on standby, this is on auto, this is on ground. That's okay. Position lights can come on, and let's switch the APU on already. Hold that for a while and then just release it back to the on position. You still see this needle climbing up to just below 6 and then drop to below 5. And when it's somewhere down there, the blue light here will illuminate and we can switch the APU generator to the buses. While it does that, we can check the fuel amount. 6.68. Well, we set 6.7, so that's about right. Can check the engine oil quantity. Well, it's both enough, but more on the left-hand side of the airplane. The IRS has aligned in the meanwhile, and the APU is on, so let's set the APU generator to the buses, and we can ask the ground power unit to be disconnected now. Anti-collision lights can come on. And we can run the preparation checklist. Gear pins are stowed, circuit breakers checked, serviceability checked, IRS is set to nav, flight control panel is set, transfer switch is normal, fuel system is set, emergency exit lights armed, passenger signs are set, window heat is on, hydraulics normal, airco and pressurization was set, glare shield panel is set, instrument panels are set, altimeters 3007 is set and cross-checked. Fuel quantity 6,680 kilograms on board. Auto brakes RTO. Speed brake is down and detent. Parking brake set. Radios, radar and transponder. They are basically already set. And yeah, set, and rudder and aileron trim are also set. So that's the preparation checklist completed. So now we'll just run with the IRS aligned. We can now check our flight plan. We can walk through it. So let's do that right now. Step through. This all looks okay. Well, here we have the factors after Menlo, and we don't want that. So we'll switch it to this one, execute that. And that should give us a good flight plan for this flight. Any Skunk, Boulder, Menlo, direct to Sapin. And we also have the correct vertical navigation in here right now, so that's okay. So let's switch this back to map and set this one to map as well. Some more distance on that one. Okay. Let's say we have now closed the door, so cabin crew, arm slide bars. So let's run the before starting checklist. Ship's papers are on board, FMC CDU is set, takeoff speeds are set, windows and doors closed and locked, fasten seatbelt signs are on. Arm slide bars was announced, anti-collision lights are on and the airco packs are off. We can set the APU bleed on and the isolation valve open. That gives us enough air to start the engines. So without further ado, let's ask for a pushback. We have to be nose to the left. And then we can start the engines and go to the runway. So pushback nose to the left, release the parking brakes. This will cause the gate to be detached and we will start our pushback for now. So start engine number 2. We'll see this needle start running up, and when it's between 20 and 25 we'll open the fuel flow on engine number 2. And while it's starting up, we'll check that the needles don't get out of the green. We're moving to the red. So 21, 22, 23, open the fuel flow. Start the cutouts. And start up engine number 1. Same drill, watch this needle, spool up, and as soon as it's between 20 and 25, open the fuel flow on number 1 and verify that none of the needles move out of the green. (20, 21, 22, 23), so fuel flow open. Start the cutouts. So that's okay. Set the parking brake. Pushback is completed. Let's run the after start flow. This is all normal. This is okay. We set the main engine generators to the buses now. That's okay. We switch on the static heats. Anti-ice is not needed for now. We set the electric hydraulics on. The recirculation fan can go to auto, packs go to auto. Isolation valve goes back to auto, APU bleed can come off. We set the ground flight switch to flight. This allows the cabin to be pressurized. Switch off the APU and switch on the taxi and runway turn off lights. And well, with that being done, we can now run the before taxi checklist. Before taxi checks, electric set, Pido heat is on, anti-ice off, airco and pressurization is set, APU is off, recall is checked, start levers, idle detent, ground equipment is removed. So let's set flaps 5 and do a flight control check. So that's full left, full right, down, up, neutral, and the rudder full left, full right, neutral. So we have flight controls checked, flaps set 5, trim is set 3.4, and let's say the cabin is ready for now. So let's release the parking brakes and start taxiing towards runway 24 left. And while we do that, we run the taxi out checklist. So taxi out checks, flaps 5 selected, green light, flight controls checked, stabilizer trim 3.4 units, mode control panel, indicated airspeed 157, heading 250, altitude 18,000, 18,000 feet, that's set. Flight directors can come on and we can arm the auto throttle now, so MCP is set. Nav system set and the crew briefing is completed. That's the taxi out checklist completed. So now we can focus on taxiing towards the runway. what we are doing right now. And we'll go a left turn here. Yeah, it has passed the stop line, so we can now safely taxi to the runway. Go to the right here. Switch the strobe lights on and set the starters to continuous. Oh, it's not very nice. Okay, let's say we are cleared to line up and wait on the runway, so we switch on the landing lights and switch off the runway and turn off the taxi lights. Runway 24 left, here we are. So here we are. Let's run the before takeoff checklist. Cabin is ready. Cabin crew, take your seats for takeoff. Take your seats is announced. Flaps 5 green lights. Engine start switches set continuous. Exterior lights, landing lights on, strobe and anti-collision lights are on. So the exterior lights are set. Auto throttle is armed. Transponder is set. And let's say we just received our takeoff clearance. So without further ado, let's start our takeoff roll. Just have to adjust my thrust levers on my desk, so this is better. So brakes off, increase the throttle, verify that these run up about equally. Then we can press the N1 button. This will cause the auto throttle to set the takeoff thrust. Always move your physical joystick to the auto throttle position. Airspeed active, 80 knots. V1 rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. So let's set the LNAV and VNAV on, so we have a flight director that we can follow. Now it's just basically flying, following the needles, as they say. Okay, so let's increase our speed now. Auto brakes off, gear lever off. Flaps 2. Flaps 1. And flaps up. So let's switch on the autopilot and don't know why I did that. Let's check the scenery from the outside. Let's verify that the pressurization is working. It is. And your start switches can go off. And the temperature is still quite high, so there's no need to switch on the anti-ice for now. So here we are on the outside of the airplane, flying out of LAX, which is quite a pretty image, if you ask me. Oh, there we go into the clouds. That definitely looks like some photoreal scenery down there. Looks quite nice. So the photo scenery seems to work pretty well. Very curious to the area between LA and San Francisco, but this already looks quite nice. Clouds are SkyMax Pro V4. This is the only downside of XP11 11. It's during the time of day where the sun is quite low, you get these circles of light, but the borders of the different light intensities, they are quite ugly, jaggy lines, and this is known to Laminar already, so they are looking into it and try to fix it, but for now they haven't succeeded. So let's hope they find a cure for that before the first release, because it's not really that nice to look at. But, anyway, let's go back to the cockpit for a short while. We are now over 10,000 feet, so the landing lights can come off and we can release the passengers from their seat belts. So after takeoff checklist, airco and pressurization is checked. Fasten seatbelt signs is set to auto. Engine start switches are off. Landing gear is up and off. Flaps up, no lights. And well, the altimeters, they are not on standard yet, because we can only transition to that at flight level 180. So we'll just have to wait a little bit longer for that. We are now below 10 degrees Celsius with visible moisture, so I do switch on the anti-ice just for a short while, till we are completely clear of the clouds and the visible moisture. It's just a precaution. The temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius and you see clouds or visible moisture like rain or whatsoever, always switch on the anti-ice. Look at this. That's quite a nice picture, actually. I think you're gonna hear me say that a lot during the rest of the flight, but so far so good. I really love the runway lighting, etc. in XP11 11. Although I wonder whether you would be able to see that through all these clouds. So. But anyway, it looks amazing. And of course, I completely forgot to switch on the chronometer. That's a mistake. Should have done that. You always switch this on, so well, I can do it anyway, but it's too late now. But you normally would press this button before you set your takeoff thrust, so you have like a stopwatch running with you, and you can then see at how many minutes in flights you pass a waypoint, and you can verify that with the times mentioned in the flight plan. They are down here, so you can also you can always see whether you are on time or not. So that's a bit of a shame that I forgot to do that. But I normally forget to do that, so anyway, let's say air traffic control has cleared us flight level 360 immediately, so let's just dial that in. stick around for a while because at 180 we have to set the QNH back to standard 29902, so I can already do that for this one. There we are, and now this one as well. And of course also on the first officer panel 29902. So altimeter set to standard, and that's the after takeoff checklist completed. And that should be all for the checklist until we are starting our descent. Anyway, we are now well cleared of the clouds, so let's switch off the anti-ice again. So no need to leave them on. A little bit more distance in my nav display. Always like to see the point whenever possible. And we are now at India Kilo Alpha Yankee Echo, so we are now down here. So quite a long way to go, but we are making nice progress. So let's look from the outside and enjoy the scenery. And oh wow, oh wow, this looks nice. This looks incredible. Well, there's one happy simmer on this side of the table. Look at this. This is done with Ortho4XP. I created these tiles myself. But anyone can do this, and Ortho4XP is a freeware program, so this doesn't cost you a dime to create this scenery. It only takes up a lot of hard disk space to store it, because it's well, gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes, if not to say terabytes upon terabytes of data, but it looks awesome. Just look at this. Wow. Well, it's going to be boring if I keep saying that all the time, so I will shut up, but this is what we do it for. Too many clouds, you can always alter the weather settings to clear skies, but for now I think the clouds over the photo tiles make actually for some pretty nice pictures. Look at this. Wow. I've never been here in real life, but it must be some awesome scenery down there, so I think we have another destination for the bucket list. This is just incredible. And I created these tiles, by the way, in Zoom level 16. Just if you are creating scenery where it's just for overflying. 16 is perfect. You don't need to zoom level 19 for that. You can go zoom level 19 if you want to for like areas that are immediately surrounding the airports. But well, personally, I created zoom level 16 tiles for the entire area between LAX and San Francisco. And I only created zoom level 17 for the cities themselves, so San Francisco and LA. But basically zoom level 16 is, well, I think it's good enough. Because, well, you might already heard it, but this is jaw-droppingly nice. At least to me it is. And zoom level 16, well, the tiles, they are always huge, but they are not as big as when you go zoom level 19, for instance. Then the amount of data that is put into one tile is well, enormous. Look at this. If you look at these photo sceneries that you can create with Ortho4XP, and I cannot stress enough, they are completely freeware. Basically, who needs OrbX for the main, for the large parts? You only need it for like airports and maybe cities or landmark buildings. That would be nice to have the 3D models for, but basically the landscape, wow. Of course, photo scenery tiles, like I said, they have they use a huge amount of data, and well, since OrbX doesn't use photo scenery, so you get something that is well almost as good as photo scenery, but it takes up less hard disk space. So in that respect, it's still a shame that they decided not to develop for X-Plane. But I think we have a pretty good alternative for this, and it saves you a lot of money. You only have to invest some time in downloading it, installing it, learn how it works, which is actually pretty easy. But there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube already, so I'm not going to do those. But wow. Let's see if we are at flight level 360 already. No, not yet, but we did make a turn, so let's adjust the heading setting. Still 227 miles to go. Also, if you look out of the cockpit, it means, I mean, it just makes it nicer. I'm not really sure what am I looking up down here. It looks like something didn't work out completely right here. Because this is just plain mesh and there is not a photo tile over it, so that is something I have to look into. Where are we? Any airports in there? Kisa. Okay, let me just write that down. Area, just have to find out where it is exactly. I have to make some alterations to the scenery, because this is not how it is supposed to be. Just mesh without photo coverage. I can't imagine that there is all the desert down there, so close to the sea. So something to look into, but overall, it's just that little spot, I'm quite pleased actually. beautiful landscape that we're flying over. I'm surprised with good frame rates, between 30 and 40 frames per second. Of course, I will insert a slide with the PC specs again in front of the video, but with the photo scenery tiles, it's basically, it takes some time to load them, but when it's loaded, the performance is actually pretty good. Of course, the amount of time it takes to load, that depends on your hardware settings, and also the settings within the sim. I can briefly show you my settings. Which are quite high. The only thing I could raise is the number of world objects to max. But basically, if you put it on high, it gives a pretty nice picture, and well, setting it to max will cost you some more frames. And well, it looks quite impressive if you fly over a big city with the number of 3D objects set to max, but if the performance doesn't get over 20 frames per second, I don't think it's worth it. So I leave it too high. It gives me a good frame rate and still a pretty nice picture of what I'm flying over. So it's a choice that I made. Incredible. Absolutely amazing. Seems to be a line between two tiles. You will see that sometimes, apparently. But if it's just only small portions like this, I can live with that. Because for the majority of what you are looking at, I mean, well, you know it. I'm not gonna repeat myself all the time for the next 30 minutes or so. Of course, the IXEG 737 isn't officially compatible to XP11 yet. So we don't have the fancy reflections that you get in the default aircraft, or like for instance the PMDG DC-6 that is now compatible, and the flight vector 757 V2 and the 767. But I still love to fly the 737 from IXEG for the short haul flights, and well, as soon as as Laminar has released the XP11 officially, and they are like 1 or 2 upgrades past the initial release, IXEG will probably start looking into making the airplane compatible. I read somewhere that, well, basically behind the screens, if you go deep inside the X-plane, in the coding, etc., some stuff has changed with the flight modeling, so they may have to do some alterations to make it as good as it was in X-plane 10. Personally, I don't feel too much difference, but I think that in X-plane 10 it was slightly different, but not much. So you can fly it in X-plane 11 without any problem. Just have to look at the APU fix, but you can look that up via Google on the various forums. It's just something you have to do in the plane maker stuff. It's really that it's not difficult, it's easy. There are step-by-step guides for that. And if you do that, you get the IXEG 737 fully working in X-plane 11. And I'm still enjoying this scenery a lot. I think I will do plenty of more flights in this region in the period that's yet to come. This is awesome. Oh, there I go again. I shouldn't do that. Quite anxious in seeing how the San Francisco area worked out. I downloaded and installed the Mr. X Freeware San Francisco airport scenery with some of the famous landmarks for the San Francisco area, like the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz Island, you name it. They should be in there. So, of course, we are flying in from LA to runway 28 right, so that doesn't bring us over the San Francisco city itself. So we should be able to see well, some things, how it looks. And I can always make a go around and fly a circle over the downtown area, of course. Might just do that, but we'll see. I think the video will be long enough without that crap, so we'll see. See how long we have to fly for our top of descent. It's just 60 miles and we are flying at a ground speed of 418 knots, so if we divide 418 by 60, that's 6.906 miles per minute. So if we divide 61 by that answer, we have just under 9 minutes before our top of descent. So 12:39 on my machine at least. So that should be like 22, 23 minutes in flight, something like that. Let's see, 39 minutes in flight. Well, then I was very late with, yeah, that's. Like I said, I should have switched on the chronometer prior to takeoff. If I had done that, I could have checked whether whether we are ahead of schedule or behind or not. So can't do that right now. But let's check everything up here. There are no warning signs whatsoever. Everything is still running smooth. Pressurization is working. I think, by the way, that the ILS heading and frequency, or course and frequency, are already set, because I thought that 28 right was 111.70. So let me just look up the. I will set you guys to be outside for a while, because I will look up the. See, that's not nice. I will look the KSFO charts on my iPad. See where we have them. SFO, there it is. I want some ILS plates. Let's see. ILS 28 right, course 284, and the localizer 111.7. So that is already set, and the San Francisco beacon is at 115.8. That we do have to set 115.8. And decision altitude today will be 240 feet. I think that's So that's the decision height is set, the ILS frequency is set, the San Francisco beacon is set, and the ILS course is set. So that's already done, that's nice. We can also, let's make it a flaps 30 landing, and I think we will be at 130, 129 when we get to San Francisco, so we'll check it again in the approach. But for now this is a nice figure to look with, flap 30 landing. Top of descent coming up on the nav display. So what I'll do, I'll set the altitude on the MCP already for, let's say 180. So when we are there, we switch the QNH to the pressure at the airfield. This is at 118.85, so that's already down there, that's nice. Set the auto brakes to 2. I don't expect any problems with the terrain because we will fly, well, there's some high terrain in this part, but we will fly most of our final approach over the bay area. So I'm not too much concerned by terrain. So it's runway 28 right. In case of a go around, I call abort takeoff or abort. Set go around thrust, raise the nose, recharge flaps to 20 and raise the landing gear. And then we'll just fly to the missed approach altitude, which is I think 3,000 feet in San Francisco. Yeah, 3,000 feet, and then we'll just follow these so-called ATC vectors for another try. And since I'm not using ATC, I will make the vectors up myself. That's the power you have in a flight sim. So for now we have VNAV engaged, we have set the altitude to a lower level, so when the plane reaches top of descent it will start descent automatically and we can enjoy the scenery again. But we can run the descent checklist now because it's very short. Terrain clearance was checked, pressurization was still set, and the approach preparation is now completed. So that's the descent checklist. Once we are descending, we will call the cabin crew that they can prepare for landing, etc. For now, it's plenty of time to enjoy some of the amazing scenery that we are flying over. And despite the fact that you only have to press a couple of buttons in Ortho4XP and let the machine do its work, or computer do its work with creating the tiles, there's some odd sense of pride that I created this. Of course I didn't, but I'm so happy with this. Look at this. Now here are the jaggy lines that I told you about in the beginning of the video. So Laminar, I do hope that you find a solution to this, because well, I have plenty of other video games and I don't get this, so there is a solution for it. Please find it and insert it, because well, it's the only thing that brings down the sim right now. Otherwise everything else is an amazing platform, and I can only recommend anyone, I've said it before in other videos, but download the demo, see how it runs on your system, and then just switch to it. It's so much better than FSX. basically the setup that you are looking at here, XP11 with the IXEG 737 and SkyMax Pro V4. That will cost you, I think in total, something like $210, 70 for the sim, 70 for the SkyMax Pro, and something like 70 for the IXEG, maybe less. But that's your investment that you're looking at. And well, with Ortho4XP you can create all the scenery you want yourself, and there are lots of freeware add-on airports. So you can keep spending hundreds of dollars in a 32-bit platform that's out of date and keeps running into out-of-memory errors all the time, or you can invest 210 euros or dollars in a 64-bit platform with a lot of potential. And I think we are now starting our descent. Yeah, we start our descent. So let's call them anyway. Cabin crew, prepare the cabin for landing. And of course, when everyone's explain, the big developers like PMDG, etc., they will follow. PMDG was already exploring X-Plane with the DC-6. Well, there are some remarks to make on that one, but it was their first project, so let's give them a break. And they have plenty of expertise to really make some very nice add-ons for this. Now I see some hiccups in my performance right now. I think that is because the San Francisco tile is now being loaded into the to the PC. So it should be all right in a couple of seconds or minutes maybe. Once it's loaded in, it should run smooth again. Let's see if we are already being asked for more drag. Yep, we are. What a surprise. So let's set the speed brake to flight detent. We're now flying over Bravo Sierra Romeo, so let's set the heading back to Carney. Still increasing the speeds, and we don't want that, so let's increase the drag maximum. we're now starting our crossing of this bay from NG to Skunk. That's the bay. So there's San Francisco down there. Go. When we reach flight level 180, that's of course the altitude at which we have to go back to the QNH at sea level. Since I set the weather myself, I presume that San Francisco also has a QNH of 3007, so that's why I switched it initially. I will also switch the radio to the ATIS, and as soon as we are in range of the ATIS, we will hear the QNH that is now present at the airport, and we might alter it then, but I think 3007 will be okay. So let's look on the outside again. Let's check the speed. We're still good now. So in the meantime, I'll set the descent altitude for flight level 100. So we can just maintain our descent. So let's just dial in the QNH already, 3007. Set the radio. Already set the passengers back in their chairs. And also check the recall button. There's nothing wrong with the airplane. Let's look at the temperature. It's well, almost freezing point now. Check the temperature again when we reach the clouds, because of course when it's below 10 degrees and we are flying into clouds, we'll switch the MTIs on.
San Francisco International Information, November 1400 Zulu weather. Wind to 70 at 6, visibility more than 10. sky conditions 4100 scattered, temperature 14, dew point -10, altimeter 3007, arriving and departing runways 28 left, 28 right, 01 right, 01 left. Advise on initial contact. You have November.
Okay, so if you slide crosswind at 270, the altimeter 3007 setting was correct as I expected, so that's nice. We can switch it off again. And we are now quite close to the clouds and still below 10, so I'm going to switch on the anti-ice just as precaution. You can always switch it off again if temperatures just look at this. So we now start surfing the clouds, which is always nice to look at from the cockpit or the flight deck. Temperature below 10, so it was a good thing to switch on the anti-ice. We are now reaching 10,000 or nearing 10,000 feet, so what I will do, I'll set the altitude indicator to 3,000 already. No, I'm not. We'll leave it at 100, then we'll slow down to 250 knots, switch on the landing lights, and then we'll descend to 3,000 feet. So there it's coming up, so let's already switch on the landing lights. And speed is now also decreasing for 240 knots. We can now run the approach checklist. Prepare for landing was announced. Fast seatbelt signs are on. Exterior lights set. Landing data. Let's check it again. Like I thought, it's already decreased. So 3130. Landing data is checked. A recall was checked. Check it again. Crew briefing is completed. Auto brakes set 2. Altimeters 3007 is set and cross-checked, so that's the approach checklist completed. And we are now at 240, so let's descend 4,000 feet on level change. That's a bit slow, so let's add some drag. 3000. Because we need to be at 3000 Sapin, I think. Yep. And also I want to reduce speed, 220 knots now. I'm gonna make some turns to give us a little bit of time to get rid of some extra speed and altitudes. So let's fly right, turn heading north for now. Heading select. I think we are now over the San Jose area. Just give it all the drag that we need. Or that we have. Zoom out. Look at this. 3D object set to high, still getting 30 frames per second, so that's awesome. You don't need more than 30 for a smooth sim experience. So this is pretty nice. I will now switch this one to the ILS. Reduce the distance on this one. Let's turn left heading 310. That's a nice interception for the ILS. We can engage the approach mode as well. We're still 17 miles out, that's plenty, so let's reduce speeds to 180. Localizer is alive. Localizer capture, set heading to 284. Flaps 1. Let's go flaps 5 directly. Let's set the speed brakes back to their armed position. We're now at 3000 feet. Glide slope is alive. So So let's reduce speed 160 knots. Set flaps 10. Runways and sides. There you are. Glide slope green. This is the San Francisco area already. I have a DVD from ITTV at home, in which the Virgin Atlantic flight from London to San Francisco is being documented. And it's a very interesting DVD. It's about a Boeing 747-400. I can only recommend you to watch it. And this is very distinct for the approach for runway 28, for the 28 approaches. So anyway, we are 160. We want a final approach speed of 135. So let's select the gear down. Set the speed to 135. Let's call out. Cabin crew, take your seats for landing. Flaps 15. Flaps 25. Flaps 30. So let's run the landing checklist. Take your seats was announced. Engine start switches. They have to be set to continuous. So they are. Speed brakes. Armed green light. Landing gear. Downlock 3 green. Altimeters 3007 set and cross-checked. Missed approach altitude 3000 feet is set. Flaps 30, green light. Landing checklist completed. So there we go. Oh, well. We're now stable on the approach. Checklists are run, so let's go for a manual landing. See how that works. Autopilot disconnected, auto throttle disengaged, pilot has control. It's always a bit of an issue with the IXEG 737. If the auto throttle is engaged, you see these two blocks moving up and down there. And if you're disengaging the autopilot, you have to make sure that, let me correct for the winds, you have to make sure that the physical thrust levers are over there. Slight wind, 6 knots, coming slightly from the left, so we do have to be careful about that. It's enough to blow you off center line if you're not paying enough attention to it. So slightly high. I still have to adjust my controls a bit because I'm not too happy with the wobbling of the nose. Landing cleared. Way too low. Not the nicest of landings I ever made. Reverse. Spoilers deployed. $80 knots. Manual braking. Auto brakes off. Runway turn off lights can come on now. And Let's take this high-speed exit down here. So let's just see how that landing looked from the outside. It's always nice to judge your own landings. The San Francisco area. And now let's see what happens. It's a nice flare, a bit too early. Ooh. Like I said, not my best landing ever. But, we can both reuse the plane and the runway for another try. So could be worse, but it could be a lot better also. So anyway, let's taxi to a gate and finish the flight. Let's see, flaps can be retracted all the way up. And the spoilers can be retracted now. Landing lights can come off. Engine starters can come off. Radar is still off, transponder is auto, so that's okay. The pitoids can be switched off as well as the anti-ice. And we can set the flight ground switch back to ground, so the cabin can be depressurized. That allows us to open the doors when we are at the gate, which is also quite handy. I think Southwest Terminal is on the other side of the airport, so let's taxi there. Flight directors can be switched off. Now again, this is the Mr. X San Francisco airport. You can download it from the xplane.org forums. It's completely freeware, and you get amazing quality for that, because well, he could have easily made this payware. So let's run the taxi and checklist. Radar and transponder are set. Speed brake was down and detent. Flaps up, no lights. Auto brakes are off. Bike to is off. Flight ground switch was set to ground. Engine start switches are off. Exterior lights are, well, set. Strobe lights can come off now. And the APU remains off because when we are at the gate we will connect to a ground power unit immediately. And we don't need the APU for that. Here are some exterior shots of the airport and its surroundings. Again with the Ortho4XP photo scenery being the base of this scenery. And I think I just found my gate. I think we're gonna park over there. Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna park here next to the company. Oh, let's stick to the taxiway center line. You see how easy it is to start making mistakes when you're not fully focused. So should talk less and pay more attention. But again, the video's main purpose was to show the Ortho4XP scenery between LAX and San Francisco. I think I succeeded in doing that. I'm not a professional pilot, so of course there was room to improve my landing. And that's why I still like simming. There's always room to learn a little bit more. And for now with XP11 I was mainly focusing on the sceneries, etc. and getting everything to work properly. And the Mr. X San Francisco scenery also has the XEG plugin compatibility. So if you have the XEG plugin installed in your XP11, you get moving gates, just like I had in LA this morning. So let's see if we can get that to work. Should be a marshaller down there as well. Yeah, it's behind the tuck, so that's not really nice. He won't be of much use when we can't see him. So I'm gonna go for the exterior view anyway. You can see him, he is working, he is moving. It's just that at this gate there is like a dog and some other ground equipment models. And there we are. Now we can see him pretty well. So parking brake on. Cabin crew disarms lights. Oh, I forgot to switch on the taxi light. That's a nasty mistake, even despite the fact that I run the checklist. I should have been more careful there. So we're now switched to ground power so we can switch off the engines. So let's just cut off the fuel flow. With the engines being switched off, we can also switch off the anti-collision lights. So the ground crew knows that they are safe to approach the airplane. The window heats can come off. This all remains auto, that's fine. Fasten seatbelt signs can come off. Fuel pumps go off. Yaw damper goes off. And I'll just leave the IRS aligned for the returning leg. So let's run the after parking checklist. Parking brake is set. Disarm slide bars was announced. Electrics are set. Start levers cut off. Fasten seatbelt signs off. Anti-collision lights off. And of course, cabin crew doors may be opened. Yeah, the gate is now attached to the airplane, so that's nice. IRS remains on, fuel pumps off, window heats off, anti-ice off, electric hydraulic pumps off, air conditioning is set, exterior lights They are off, and the parking brake remains on because I cannot model the blocks. So that's the flight from LAX to San Francisco. Hope you liked it. Hope you liked the scenery as much as I did. And well, if you have any comments, questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comment section below. Yeah, do that in a respectful manner. Of course, like I said, I'm not a professional pilot, so there's a lot for me to learn. So any tips and tricks are welcome. And let's make any criticism on this video about learning something, and let's make everybody else who is watching this being able to learn something. Even if I made mistakes, point them out, tell them how I should have done it, so anyone can learn from it. That's it for today from a sunny morning in San Francisco. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.